Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case study that proves how the smallest, most invisible details can completely unravel a so-called perfect crime. We're looking at a story famously known as 11 Seconds. It's this brilliant narrative puzzle that's really going to test how closely you pay attention to the world around you. We'll be breaking down the timeline, the evidence, and the psychology of a killer. Let's get right into the heart of the mystery. So we start with this incredibly eerie and cryptic instruction given by an elderly security guard named Robert Hayes, immediately following a brutal murder. Just picture the chaos of a fresh crime scene, right? The police are swarming, detectives are tearing the place apart looking for physical clues, and right in the middle of all of this, you have this veteran security guard who completely ignores the obvious. Instead, he tells the investigators something totally baffling. He doesn't point to a bloody footprint, he points to something you can't even see. He just keeps saying, listen to the 11-second sound, and this cryptic little instruction ends up being the anchor for our entire investigation.
All right, let's lay out the hard facts of the crime scene. Our victim is Andrew Foster, a highly renowned architect, found dead in his own office. The time of death is pinned down to exactly 8:48 p.m. Now, crucially, the office door was left wide open, and absolutely nothing was stolen, so that immediately rules out a random burglary gone wrong. The cause of death? A heavy blow to the head. This tells investigators they are looking at a highly targeted, premeditated attack. Someone wanted Foster dead, and they came specifically to do just that.
Now, you'd think CCTV would crack this wide open, right? Well, when police pull the building's footage expecting a quick ID, they instead find what they dub the faceless suspect. This person navigates the entire building, hallways, stairwells, lobbies, without ever once glancing up at a single camera. They didn't wear a ski mask or pull a hood tight, which, let's be honest, would have looked highly suspicious to anyone walking by. Instead, they just kept their head angled perfectly the entire time. It shows a truly chilling level of premeditation and familiarity with the building's security layout.
The police hit a massive wall because their sole eyewitness, our old guard Robert Hayes, is providing wildly contradictory physical descriptions every single day. While the CCTV shows a consistent, albeit totally unidentifiable figure, Hayes' memory is just all over the map. Day 1, he tells police the killer wore a black jacket. Day 2, he changes it to a blue shirt. By day 3, he thinks it was gray clothing. So naturally, the investigators assume the poor guy is traumatized, confused, or his memory is just failing him. The physical eyewitness testimony is completely falling apart.
But here's the thing. Despite his confusion over the visual details, Hayes absolutely insists on the existence of this 11-second sound. He just keeps repeating it, which prompts investigators to search for an audio source in an office that seemingly has zero audio equipment. If you look around a standard architect's office, you expect blueprints, drafting tables, maybe some computers. You definitely don't expect to find a recording device lying in plain sight. It leaves investigators asking one incredibly frustrating question: where exactly is this sound coming from? The investigation essentially stalls out because they just cannot find the source of the evidence Hayes is so desperately pointing them toward.
This right here brilliantly illustrates how a completely overlooked, mundane object can blow a case wide open. 4 days after the murder, someone is cleaning out a storeroom and finds this dusty, older model digital voice recorder. It turns out Andrew Foster had a habit of dictating his spontaneous design ideas out loud, basically capturing his thoughts on audio rather than writing them down. When the police finally power up this device, they realize they have hit the absolute jackpot. They find an audio file recorded on the exact night at the exact time of the murder. Let's walk through this and see how it builds. Listen closely as we break down the exact sequence of audio captured during the fatal attack. First, you hear mundane office noises, just the sound of paper shuffling. Then you hear Andrew Foster's voice calmly dictating an idea. Next, completely out of nowhere, a heavy, sickening thud, the fatal blow. And finally, silence from the victim, followed by exactly 11 seconds of a strange, continuous whirring noise. It kind of sounds like a heavy motor slowly turning. Now, most investigators thought the thud was the end of the evidence, but that whirring noise at the end, that is the real clue.
The investigation nearly hits another dead end when officers dismiss the whirring noise. They look at the audio profile and think, it's just the air conditioner kicking in. But our veteran guard's acute ear forces them to dig deeper. Robert Hayes shakes his head. Relying on his 15 years of experience patrolling those exact hallways night after night, he knows the hum of the AC unit, he knows the rattle of the elevator, and he is absolutely adamant that whirring sound on the tape is not the building's air conditioning. This pushes Detective Maya Collins to isolate the audio for specialized analysis. Detective Collins sends the isolated audio over to the lab, and the result completely validates the old guard. The sound belongs to a highly specialized piece of architectural equipment, an automatic drafting machine. This massive device used for precisely drawing out large-scale architectural blueprints. It has heavy mechanical arms and a very distinct low-frequency hum when it operates. And sure enough, Foster had one sitting right there in his office. So the absolutely crucial point here is a specific mechanical feature of this machine. The manufacturer programmed it with a built-in safety mechanism. Exactly 11 seconds after it gets powered on, it automatically rings a sharp warning bell. It's meant to alert anyone nearby that those heavy mechanical arms are about to start moving rapidly. Detective Collins confirms this by going back to the crime scene and turning the machine on herself. She waits. 1, 2, 3, and right at 11 seconds, a loud ting echoes through the room. And this, right here, is the million-dollar question that turns the entire investigation on its head. The recording captures the machine starting up right as Foster is hit. It captures exactly 11 seconds of that whirring motor sound. But then, the recording cuts out, and crucially, there is absolutely no warning bell heard on the audio file. If the machine was running for 11 seconds, that bell literally had to ring. Since it didn't, it means the machine was manually powered off just milliseconds before the 11-second mark was reached.
Let's map this out, because this timeline proves someone had to cross the room and shut off the power right before that chime could ring. At 0 seconds, the attack happens, and the machine gets bumped or turned on during the struggle. Detective Collins measures the room. Getting from Foster's desk over to that machine takes a brisk 7 to 8 seconds of walking. So the killer strikes, immediately speed walks across the office, and hits the power button just before the 11-second mark to prevent the bell from ringing.
Think about it. Because shutting off the machine takes a minimum of 8 seconds to walk over and do, the killer couldn't have left through the door simultaneously. When Detective Collins syncs this newly precise timeline with the CCTV footage from downstairs, a massive revelation occurs. The audio timestamp mismatch proves that our faceless CCTV suspect had already exited the front doors of the building before the fatal blow was even struck upstairs. This completely clears our initial suspect. They weren't some master assassin who knew the camera angles, they were literally just the last ordinary visitor to leave the building that night. Meaning, the real killer never left through the front doors.
So, Section 2, the digital footprint. With the timeline corrected and the outside suspect cleared, the investigation pivots entirely to the internal staff.
If the killer didn't leave the building, they stayed inside and blended right in. By analyzing digital footprints, a glaring lie is quickly exposed. Detective Collins pulls the smartphone and smartwatch data for all the employees. Now, employee Liam Brooks stated adamantly in his interview that he was working down on the ground floor all evening. However, his smartwatch GPS data tells a completely different story. Right at 8:48 p.m., his device pings off a router on the exact floor where Andrew Foster's office is located. The technology places him right at the scene of the crime.
Okay, we have him at the scene, but we need a why. And suddenly, we have a very clear motive. Digging into the office files, police discover that Andrew Foster had recently uncovered proof of a massive multi-million-dollar design theft ring operating right inside his own firm. Company secrets were being sold off to rivals, and the paper trail led directly to Liam Brooks. Brooks knew he was about to be exposed, fired, and most likely sent to prison. He was absolutely desperate to silence his boss before that theft could be made public.
So picture this. During the interrogation, Brooks is sitting there, initially denying everything. He's super confident he left no physical evidence behind. But Detective Collins doesn't even argue with him. She simply leans forward and drops this perfectly crafted, highly specific trap question. Why did you turn off the machine? Brooks just freezes. It's a question that only the true killer could possibly understand. The police never released any info to the public or the staff about a drafting machine being involved. By asking this one question, she traps his mind right back in that room.
And the trap works perfectly. Recognizing he's caught in a detail he thought was a total secret, Brooks breaks down and confesses. He admits that during the struggle, the heavy drafting machine was accidentally bumped on. Terrified that the loud mechanical whirring and that eventual warning bell would attract the attention of the cleaning staff or anyone in the hallway, he rushed across the room to switch it off. Brooks' desperate attempt to muffle the sounds of his crime actually created the exact chronological anomaly, that missing bell, that sealed his fate. At the trial, the judge beautifully summarizes the poetic justice of this whole case, stating, "The most important witness in this case wasn't a person, it was just an 11-second sound. An invisible audio gap, a missing bell, served as the ultimate testimony." And you know, when Detective Collins later asked the old security guard, Robert Hayes, how he knew the sound was so important when he hadn't even seen the killer's face, Hayes just smiled. He said he just knew that a sound that belonged in that building was missing that night.
We'll leave you with this final thought. While physical evidence can be wiped away, and witness memories can blur or be deceived by clever angles, the raw data of time and sound, that is absolute. An 11-second mechanical hum completely unraveled a murderer's lie. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. It really makes you wonder, what invisible details are you missing in your own environment? Until next time, keep your eyes open, but more importantly, keep listening.